players know, that one hit ruins everything. And from that moment
Yeah.
on, once Pedro was in the driver's seat, he could just sit back and defend. So here we go. This is where we're at. Pedro moves on to lower bracket round number 3. He'll be facing off against the winner of Riley and Adriel, which is coming up next. And of course, Yoru, Ruben, Mohammed Light, and Tourist are all sitting, waiting in the wings. Those 2 winners will move on to the upper bracket finals. And the losers of those 2 matches, of course, will move down to the lower bracket. So a lot more Clash to be played today. And as we talked about, upper bracket finals, grand finals, and lower bracket finals are all going to be best of 5.
Yeah,
So very excited
very
to see
excited
how
for
our
that.
players do with that. That's going to be pretty cool stuff, Juicy. I know
Yeah.
this is speculating really early on, but
Sure.
if you were in a best of 5, how would you put together your decks? Like, would you start off heavy, hitting out of the gate so you could try to pick up 1, 2, 3 wins, or at least get 2 out of the first 3 games, and then you start getting a little funky and creative because you're starting to lose cards? Or do you try to win out the gates with oddly constructed decks so that maybe towards games 3, 4, and 5, if you have your back up against the wall, you're like, okay, cool, now I'm going to bust out, Royal Hogs, AQ, Earthquake. Which way would you go?
I think personally, I would try to work with my coach to make a solid 5 decks that are viable, even with not being able to repeat a single card in the best of 5. I think that I'd rather go for that situation than just use all the really good cards in the first 3 games, and then if I lose one, then it's just okay, now I got terrible decks from here on out, and it's just not going to go well.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It kind of reminds me of fantasy football. There's this guy that I've been in a league with for 13 years now. It's our 14th year of playing, and he's won 4 times, and it drives us all crazy. But always at the draft, he always just picks a lot of the best players at the middle of the road. He doesn't spend a ton on the superstars,
Right.
and that because of that, he doesn't have a bunch of mediocre players that he has to fill out his roster with. He just goes slow and steady all the way through for his entire roster, and I think that's kind of what you're saying here. Don't hamstring yourself in any one spot, and don't swing for the fences in another. Just try to make it even keel all the way through. We'll see if that's what the players do, but that's not for a little bit. As of right now, we're going into this matchup. A lot of fun. Adriel going up against Riley, our current world number 2, who honestly looked like maybe we were going to say goodbye to him early yesterday, but he was able to come back and stay alive. And then on the other side of it, we had a really fun matchup. I mean, these were our first 2 matches of the day, Riley versus Yoru, and then Ruben versus Adriel. Really, really fun to see Ruben and Adriel match as well. So here we go. Going back to bait. Riley was the only person that we saw run bait yesterday. He did it in his last match, and his last match in the very first game. And we'll see. I mean, apparently he liked what he had there.
Yeah, another thing is about this match, I saw someone say in the chat today that Riley took Adriel's spot at the World Finals last year. That's the reason why Adriel didn't quite make it to the top 8 for the World Finals. So this is interesting. I think that Adriel has a lot to prove here in this best of 3.
Yeah, that's a great little bit of history there to add to the drama of this matchup. I mean, definitely 2 guys that are feeling like they're at the top of the world. Riley definitely has the edge on Adriel in that sense. And Adriel getting a really nice breakthrough here. Boss Bandit still there to tank. Ice Spirit comes in late. Mighty Miner is able to clean up that hog. 22-59. Adriel up by 1, but Mighty Miner on the board and a hog hit in as the Evo barrel comes out. Perfect timing, perfect everything there. You can see both of them with the raise of the eyebrows. Adriel proud of his prediction and his play there, and Riley going, all right, man, okay, cool, let me get some damage somewhere.
Yeah, I like this matchup a lot for Adriel. He's got a really quick cycle. He even has the Fire Spirit, which is good versus Goblin Barrel. And he's locked in. He's got a nice prediction on the fake barrel as well as a log onto the real Goblin Barrel with that Evo. And now Riley's in a situation where he's going to have to keep spamming. He's going to have to get even more Goblin Barrels on the board to try and cycle back. But he does get some damage into here. But here comes the hog. Earthquake going to drop down. Boss Bandit dashing. He goes for a defensive Goblin Barrel. He's struggling. The Boss Bandit connects with the pre-log. And this tower is gone. Riley's already thinking about what deck he's going to play next game, realizing this one is over.
didn't love that barrel right in the middle of all of that, Juicy. You know,
Yeah.
Riley was able to get back to a second barrel and kind of use that defensively, but honestly, he sent a barrel in the middle of Adriel's kind of defense and counter push. And that barrel, it only pulled out 2 elixir. And what I was going to say, but then Adriel just straight up 3-crowned him was, oh, I would have really loved to see Adriel use the Skellies plus Fire Spirit combo to take care of that barrel. It just made me, you know, when you see Mo do that in the height of gameplay or at World Finals, you're like, anyone can do it, man. It's, you know, and it's like, it should always happen if you're a pro. Didn't happen. Riley spends a little bit more on offense than I think he should have, and then Adriel completely overruns him. What else went wrong that game, Juicy? It really did feel like Riley was just, like you said, you really liked the matchup. Was it just the matchup there from Adriel? Was it over-aggression from Riley? It all happened so quickly. Help us out.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that in general, there was a lot of aggression from Riley, maybe even a little frustration after Adriel had that nice prediction with the skeletons. But another big component there is just the earthquake. Adriel hitting a pre-earthquake on the cannon, you know, just 2 times made it so that Riley was really struggling for elixir on defense. I mean, a lot of time we do see Riley have some really good placements, use an anti-earthquake cannon placement, push the hog over. The problem was that boss bandit, though. I think that he was kind of struggling to really get that cannon anti-earthquake while pushing the hog, while dealing with the boss bandit at the same time. There's just a lot of moving components, and that boss bandit is really hard to control in a situation like that.
Yeah, that boss bandit really did kind of feel like the it factor there. You know, you factor in that 3-card cycle to be able to deal with the barrels and the double barrels there, the Evo barrels. Excuse me, but when you look at the responses to the boss bandit, you just have goblins, you have your cannon, you have the ice spirit, you saw a goblin barrel come out, and then the best response is the mighty miner, which is kind of the worst response, right? The best thing about the mighty miner is getting that charge up, but if the boss bandit's going to dash twice against it, or even just once, all of a sudden you see Riley go, oh man, now I need to play goblins, now I need to play ice spirit, now I need to play something to protect my princess. Oh, the princess is now tanking for the boss bandit, so I guess I have to play the cannon. Well, I need the cannon for the hog. So all things kind of went wrong there, and a lot of it was just the matchup and just not having a great tank. Boss bandit, man, we saw yesterday, we talked about her quite a bit. She really can turn a match on the dime for the good or the bad, right?
Such a strong card.
Accidentally use that ability a couple times, or you cycle her in the wrong lane, she can really, really punish you. Although in game number 1, really worked out for Adriel.
Yeah, she's a double-edged sword. If you know what you're doing with it, it's really going to provide an insane amount of value. But if you make even one mistake in how you play it, or an ability here or two, next thing you know, you've used 8 elixir on 1 card, and your opponent's overrunning you.
So those decks you guys are seeing on the screen are not what we saw in game number 1. Those are from the previous matchup. Just a heads up in case you are worried and anyone repeats a card. And don't worry, we are on it. Here we go.
Gobstein in the back, and looks like Riley's got the Tesla. Riley using a drill deck with the Dark Op without the Evo Dark Op or the Evo Tesla. So, and without the Evo Drill. So what even are the Evos here? This is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting, and I can't imagine he made an Evo mistake, but with only 2 spots left, he's going to have to hope that he didn't. There we go. Evo Valkyrie is the second to last. Goblin Doctor, Goblin Monster coming out. I think I called him the Goblin Giant earlier. Give me a break. It's 7 in the morning. And also, we haven't seen much of the Goblinstein. I'm really happy to see Goblinstein kind of working its way back into the meta, honestly. I know that for a long time, people were sick of it and thought it was a little too powerful. Definitely a really tough card to balance, but I do think it's found itself in a good spot. Goblin Doctor doesn't feel too powerful. Goblin Monster doesn't feel too powerful. Neither does the ability.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree. I think it's in a solid spot, but it's still in certain situations able to provide some value. In this situation, I don't see it getting much, though. Riley with a poison, probably going to be dropping a poison on top of the Gobstein most of the time, and if not, he'll have that Valkyrie on top, help him cycle to his Evo Valkyrie. Valkyrie to drop right now.
So,
onto the drill here.
Evo Bomber's showing up a few times throughout the competition, which has been nice. Not super popular in general after its nerf, but
Right.
I think that was a good nerf, Juicy. I mean, it definitely felt like it was completely hamstrung after it happened, but I don't know. I mean, how many times could you lose a game on an Evo bomber at the bridge that you couldn't get to?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that he is in a pretty healthy spot right now. It definitely just doesn't seem like it since he was so strong before, but I mean, it's still able to get really nice chip damage, and when we're either playing at the highest level, any sort of damage matters. So it makes
Yeah.
sense why we're seeing him come out a couple times here in this drill deck.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you make. You always see that at the highest level. Any lick of damage is incredibly important, and yeah, that bomb coming through for only 2 elixir is the other thing you got to
Right.
remember. So, all right, here we go. Another push coming in here from Adriel. Focus on that right-hand tower. 2204 plus the Evo Snowball.
It's the
Goblins
Valk
gonna
and
get
the
some-
guards,
Wow.
but he's able to stop it. He's staying alive. The goblins do get one more hit, and the Gobstein scientist as well. Adriel now up about 300 damage here, despite not having a big spell.
Yeah, Adriel just keeping up some really great pressure, and this deck, this iteration of this deck is kind of what we saw Pedro run as well, and I don't know, pretty cool. Seems like it's working out all right.
Yeah, Adriel's liking
Something
it
we
as
didn't
well.
see at all yesterday. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think, yeah, you're absolutely right. We haven't seen it at all, and it doesn't even look like a good deck, honestly, but it's working, and that's all that matters. Speaking of working, these guards are working. Get some
Yeah.
damage for Riley on the right side, and all of a sudden, we're kind of evened up. We have about 53 seconds in triple elixir overtime. Arrows on the Dargov, and Riley completely switching lanes.
Here we go. Poison on top of the hut. Hut right in front of the tower to catch the guards, plus the drill. Now the Evo Snowball comes in. Goblins from the hut, though, should come out and help. 1353. Still a decent amount of damage in there for Adriel. Down to 1330 against 405. Riley back on offense. Evo Valk, the great equalizer, comes in. Fire Spirit on top, but those goblins are going to get on top of the tower. Fire Spirit missed time.
And once again, this is the importance of having a log or bar barrel in your deck. If the opponent goes for the Evo Snowball and you don't have something to take out those goblins, and once again, look, the goblins are in the tower. Riley with a snowball on offense, but the bomber's helping out. Goblins still get hits. This is shot for shot. Everyone is going in for the damage in the last second. The Dark Goblin walks on the tower, and Riley takes game number 2, tying up the best of 3.
I mean, he just slides that right in
Wow.
the perfect timing, right when Adriel sends in the drill, just a little bit short on elixir. Adriel knew that the Valk plus the Dark Goblin were coming. He had the arrows in cycle. He just didn't have the gas to do it. So beautiful game number 2 there from Riley. Super, super fun matchup. And yeah, man, that was an exciting one with 2 little bit different decks. I also think it's really interesting how Evo Drill doesn't really exist anymore. People just use other Evos because they're stronger. Great game number 2 there, Juice.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the gameplay there. I do wish I could see how Riley ended up getting so much damage to the right-hand side. I think the guards and the Berserker were just counter-pushing from defending against the drill, and I think that he applied pressure on the left-hand lane. Adriel was so focused on defense, maybe an Evo Snowball came through to even force that even more attention, and those guards ended up doing enough damage to kind of tie it up, and that gave Riley the only opportunity he needed in order to win this game.
Yeah, so I'm taking a look here at kind of what happened, and Adriel goes for a pretty decent push. Or Riley goes for a pretty decent push on the left-hand side. Adriel defends it with a Goblin, with a Gobstein and a Berserker and a Fire Spirit, I think. And then all of a sudden he looks on the right-hand side of the board and a Valkyrie plus guards just snuck on through. I think he just got, I mean, we saw that happen once yesterday where you just get caught looking, not really paying attention because you're just getting a little bit overwhelmed. So great stuff there from Riley, letting, his defensive counter push just do the work that he needed while distracting Adriel in the left-hand lane. Since we just have a couple minutes here in between the games, or maybe not a couple minutes, a couple seconds, I saw a couple people asking a few things about what this tournament, what the implications are from the tournament and, how they can be involved. We say this every single year, but let's start with the first question. This is the CRL warm-up. So as we said at the top of the show, $15,000 will be given away. This is just the warm-up, though, so there are no points or leaderboard spots or anything like that awarded. No golden ticket. This is just about players that are here in 2025, ready to go, ready to show that they are ready for CRL and CRL World Finals. And then, who doesn't want to win $7,500 for first place, or, be a part of that $15,000 grand prize? And then the other part of it, asking, someone was like, how do we play against these players? Do these players play against everyone else in the world? Yes and no.
Absolutely.
At the beginning of the season, you can maybe run into one of them early ladder, which is always horrible. When you're like game number 1, new season, you see them with like 320 win badges. You're like, awesome. This is going to be a fun Challenger 1 match. But the way to do it is to get in the top 1,000 of our leaderboard in Ultimate Champion. If you want to be in there in Path of Legends, every time we do CRL, top 1,000 players get invited to what then gets you to the end of the month in our CRL monthly finals. So I hope that made sense. But the best way to do it, subscribe to the channel, follow on Twitch, follow along on Twitter or X to make sure that you see when these competitions happen. And then, hey, we could be calling your matches here, just like how I've never called a Tourist or a Yoru match before this weekend. Been doing this for a very, very long time. That could be you this year.
All right, we're hopping into game number 3 here. This is an elimination match, so someone's gonna be walking home away with $500. I mean, it's not nothing, but I know the ambition these players have. They want that champion prize. And the Ram Rider ignores the Goblin Hunt once again. This pathing, the recent pathing update, I'm glad I'm seeing it not only affect me, but also the best players in the game.
Yeah. That's a really good point that you make, because I definitely have found moments where, and Riley's not completely out of this game, but he is in a bad spot. But I've definitely found that happen quite a few times. Great King Tower activation there. Still cost him a little bit. Where the new pathing has just completely done me dirty.
Okay, Monk in the back from Adriel. We have a Skeleton Surround last second from Riley. Really well played. That's going to be 0 hits with the help of the King activation. And you're right, it did cost a lot for him to make that activation happen, but it's an investment. It's going to help him out for the rest of the game now. But now he has to deal with this expensive push with the Monk, Ram Rider, and once again, Ram Rider getting pushed to the side by the Monk, making it so that it completely bypasses the Goblin Hut. And Riley's just shaking his head. He's taking a lot of damage. He's shaking his head here.
He's so tilted, and I can imagine why. It's 2 back-to-back missed pulls on the exact same push coming across the bridge. A Monk plus a Ram Rider. The Monk, the density of the Monk, body blocking, pushing that Ram Rider maybe a half tile over. And with that new pathing, that is not going to do it. So Riley going to have to get a little more used to playing that Goblin Hut, just 1 tile over to the right. And, it's going to pull the Ram Rider, and it's also going to spawn Goblins to help out in that case instead of doing a whole lot of nothing.
Monk kind of pushing left-hand lane. Adriel does have Lightning as his last card in this deck, or he should. So that's also going to make this even more difficult to make this comeback happen. Goblin goes on the left-hand lane again. It is placed 1 tile up, and the Ram Rider isn't getting pushed by anything this time, so it will pull. Augrider does get some hits. Riley's starting to lock in here and maybe get some damage back. Maybe there's a comeback possible here.
Yeah, definitely. He's doing a great job getting damage where he needs. He's, as we've talked about for years, he's sacrificing that left-hand tower HP and gaining elixir for that. He's also making really great micro interactions using that King Tower like you talked about to make up for elixir. So it's definitely not over, especially with that lightning. And now you see Adriel kind of hitting the panic button a bit, going, okay, wow, all right, you've got a big spell, you got that boss bandit that's causing me a lot of trouble, and I'm only in the lead because you missed 2 pulls on my Ram Rider. So Adriel's starting to feel the pressure here. Great Skellies plus Ice Spirit, 1068, 829. Riley felt like he was completely out of this. Now the splash from the Firecracker is in. Riley has just about taken the lead. Not yet. 918, 829. Hog Rider in.
Hog Rider in. Ram Rider trying to slow it down. Ice Spirit to freeze. The King Tower is helping, but the Hog does get the hit. Riley now... Wait! The Boss Bandit re-dashes back to the tower, and Riley is lightning range. Will Adriel be able to lightning block? No, he has nothing to make it happen. Riley is going to make the craziest comeback we've seen today.
No way, dude. No freaking way. That is just being lulled into a false sense of security. Adriel had everything he needed there. And even if it was a bad matchup, Juice, I don't know. If you're up by that much damage, can
Wow.
a bad matchup really be that bad?
Wow.
I feel like
Yeah.
he just got a little too comfortable.
A little too comfortable and a little bit too surprised by that lightning. I was thinking the whole time, surely Riley has an earthquake. It's Hog Earthquake. But in the back of my mind, I was like, if Riley has a lightning here, that would be insane. This comeback is very possible. And he went for the lightning onto the Executioner, that monk. He went for the Barbarian Barrel to finish out the Executioner with another Hog Rider. He kept applying pressure, and he played in the opposite lane, which was really important. This Executioner monk deck, it really excels in playing same lane and counter pushing. So continually applying pressure in the opposite lane really allowed Riley to just make this comeback happen.
Chat absolutely losing it right now over on YouTube. How could you not? What a great second match of the day. And I gotta say, the thing that I'm most impressed by and happiest about is this is a guy that, you know, a year ago this time, we had no idea if he was going to be at World Finals. Then you fast forward to World Finals, you see that he's going to be there. As you said, he kind of barely sneaks in, and you're like, all right, I don't know, though. I met him before. I met him in 2023. I just don't know if he has the stage presence that he needs to do what he needs to do in 2024. This could be a day one elimination. And then you get through to the end of World Finals, and he does it all. And he ends up lasting to the Grand Finals against Muhammad Light. What I love that I saw today is I wanted to throw my phone for him after that second missed Grand Rider. And it's against Adriel. It felt like it was completely over, but the mental fortitude, the perseverance to come through it, that shows me a very mature guy, because he looked really tilted also on call, but he didn't let it get to him. So really, really impressed by Riley there. And for Adriel, we've seen that whole horse to the barn syndrome, light at the end of the tunnel thing. You got to slow play it out. These are the best in the world. You've got to just be smart and safe, as you always say, Juicy, when you're playing. Don't go for the win, just go for the not losing, and then the win will come.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, not to mention, Riley got 3 crowned in the first game of this best of 3. He lost immediately. I mean, you talk about mental fortitude. I genuinely don't think I would be able to come back from something like that. And let's look at the bracket here. Now we have the semifinals up next for our next 2 matches. Yoru, Ruben, Muhammad Light, and Tourist. Riley and Pedro are our victors of the lower round 2. They are going to be waiting the losers of these semifinals.
Yeah, and this is a really exciting semifinals in the upper bracket, because you have 2 world champions going up against, just for the fun of saying it, is 2 no names, right? We do know Tourist. We've seen his name in the community for a while, but in terms of the highest level of CRL teams, world finals, all that, Yoru and Tourist are the rookies here. Ruben and Muhammad Light are 2 of the GOATs of the game. So this could be an incredibly one-sided semifinals in the upper bracket. But I'm calling it right now, Juicy. These guys, Yoru and Tourist, are playing out of their minds. And as I mentioned yesterday, they're playing with nothing to lose. And now they're playing with nothing to lose against 2 of the best to ever do it, period. Not some of the best out there. These are, without a doubt, best in 2020 and then the best right now. So this is a great moment for Yoru and Tourist to put their name on the map. It's just, can you do it? Let's go to match 15 first, because that's where we're going to go next. Yoru versus Ruben. How do we feel about Ruben yesterday, Juice?
I liked what I saw, but I don't know if I saw anything where I was like wildly impressed. Yoru, on the other hand, took down Riley, the runner-up in 2024, as well as Samuel, who got 3rd place, I believe, in 2023. And I mean, I don't know. I was really surprised. I think those were 2 insane upsets. And I don't know. I just want to see more of him today. I want to see more. I want to see if he has what it takes to take down the 2020 world champ.
Yeah, and you know, with Ruben yesterday, we saw kind of the phases of old Ruben, in the sense of just being really calm, cool, collected, analytical, not
Yep.
tiltable. We saw him in some really rough spots that he played through. We saw him in some interesting matchups with, I was saying yesterday, I can't remember exactly what deck it was, but he played it a lot like he plays a Royal Giant deck, where he kind of sat back and waited and waited and waited and sequenced a perfect offense. I think it was like a Mega Knight Bandit situation or something
Right.
like that. I
Yeah.
can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a beautiful, beautiful, just what he used to do, which is, all right, I'm figuring this out for a few minutes. Oh, I've cracked the code. Let me win the game on one big push. So this is going to be interesting because Ruben also, I think, has had a lot of time now between winning that championship. It's been 5 years to who he is now. Obviously, expectations are high for him, but I don't think it's quite as heavy lies the crown as someone like Muhammad Light and Riley, where if they don't win, you immediately go, oh, they're washed. Whereas if
Right.
Ruben doesn't win now, you're like, all right, whatever. It's been a while. He's been kind of quiet for the last couple of years, but he just hasn't won in the last few years. He's still been showing up at the World Finals, as you guys can see in the top left-hand side there.
Yeah, it really is impressive. I mean, I feel like personally I don't give Ruben enough credit. This man has been playing this game for so long, probably just as long as I have, and he's still playing against the top players in the world every single year, and he's still showing up, and he's still performing very well. So big props to Ruben. He's a grinder. Obviously he has been practicing in the off season, and let's see if he can kind of take down the kind of the rookie of the season here in Yoru.
Yeah, Yoru yesterday, he had a great 3-set win over Samuel Basoto, as you talked about. He also had a really nice win over Riley, so it was back-to-back 3-set wins over number 2 and number 3 in the world at one point, and number 2 in the world right now in Riley. So as you mentioned, Juicy, this is no slouch. This is a guy that really showed up yesterday, and Ruben's got a tall order in front of him. So looking like GY at the bottom of the screen, we talked about this quite a bit yesterday. It's the new graveyard with no NATO, which for you is very odd. And now we have that Evo Witch with the graveyard, and that Boss Bandit is doing some work along with the Earthquake. Maybe not quite as much as Yoru wanted, but now we have the Witch on tower. That Boss Bandit is very healthy.
Yeah, and here comes the Hogger with her as well. Barbarian Barrel to try and deal with the Boss Bandit, and he does have the Tornado. That's going to save him a bit, especially with the Evo Knight dropping down, and you can see Ruben immediately shaking his head. He probably was hoping for the non-Tornado version of this deck, but the Tornado going to be a massive asset for defending against this Hog Rider.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure playing many versions of Splash Yard over the years, between one building and a NATO and the Ice Wiz, there's just so many great ways to control that Hog. And you see right there, you're doing the right thing. Take one hit on either side. Don't overspend. Let's try to get back on offense. And he is playing very aggressive with Graveyard here in single Elixir.
Yeah, Cannon's going to be taken out by the poison, but it did get some nice value. Firecracker going to end up getting hit by the poison here. That will make her susceptible to the Barbarian Barrel. There's the Bar Barrel and a Tornado as well to pull the Hog to the King Tower yet again. And Yoru is just continuing to extend his damage advantage.
Yeah, we're seeing people play like hyper aggressive with Royal Giant now, and this is one of the more aggressive plays I've seen with Graveyard.
Right. Yeah, he's pretty much going for a Graveyard whenever he has a Witch on the board, except for this time apparently. He's just going to let this Witch kind of run its course. Maybe he's happy with the damage that he's accumulated so far, and Witch not quite able to take out the Firecracker. Maybe you give Ruben a chance to attack here.
So NATO. I was going to say the NATO missed, I think, because the Skeleton pushed the Hog just one tile. So a bit of a missed NATO there from Yoru. Still in the lead, 22-04 to 16 and some change with that with the poison ticking in.
Yeah,
Yoru's a great counter.
Yeah, Yoru's still up with quite a bit of damage, but Ruben needs as many of those sneaky Hog hits as he can get. So he's going for another one right now. Boss Bandit going to dash into the Evil Witch. But with the Tombstone on the board, the Evil Witch will heal herself back up to full HP. Tornado on the Hog, and Yoru has enough for a Graveyard. I would not be surprised if I saw it drop down. Nope, he decides to go for the poison yet again. Playing kind of similar to how Muhammad Light might in a situation like this. He's up damage. He's just going to play the poison, continue his lead, and here comes the Graveyard to apply pressure.
And now a decent push coming in on that right-hand side. Hog in front of the Boss Bandit this time around. Going to need those Skellies to tank that Boss Bandit. Bar Barrel comes in, and it's a pretty great matchup for Yoru, and the synergy of this deck especially is working out. I mean, the Tombstone giving HP to the Witch, obviously the Graveyard giving HP to the Witch, the NATO coming in perfectly with that Ice Wiz, the Tombstone tanking for the Bar Barrel. I mean, this is a tough matchup for Ruben.
Hog does hit, but he predicts the Firecracker at the bridge to prevent any extra damage from coming through. Evil Firecracker does get some chip on the tower, and you can see Ruben disgusted with the fact that he was making some outplays at the end. He's getting the damage that he needed, but just not quite enough, losing by only 50 HP in game number 1.
52 HP and a very tough matchup to play through. Well played by both these guys. I mean, you know, Juicy, you're a very good splash yard player. Is that about as good as it could have gotten? Is there anything that could have changed throughout that, you think? I mean, obviously with 52 HP, it really could have gone either way. Was there any moment throughout that you were like, maybe Ruben should defend X, or maybe he should have been more aggressive Y, or is that just kind of the way that the cookie crumbles when you have that tough matchup and you know, someone that good you're playing against?
Yeah, I mean, I think you called it. I think that was pretty much as best it could get for Ruben. I think he played really well, and he didn't give up into the very final second. The double firecracker at the end there, it was the only chance that he was going to get to break through and win that game, especially with that Boss Bandit dashing on the Tombstone, allowing for the hog hits. I mean, Ruben got 2 or 3 more hog hits than he should have that game, and still it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, you take away one of those hog hits. I mean, the one that pops into my mind is the skeleton push with the missed NATO. Like, even just one of those, and all of a sudden that game is not close really at all. Then we're talking more like 500 damage difference, which is a lot in this game. So, you know, when we look back to how Ruben started his day yesterday against Adriel, he came out with Boss Bandit, Lightning, Mortar, and kind of surprising, right? Because not that, but yesterday we saw a ton of Mortar out the gates. Today we have not seen any Mortar yet, and we've seen a lot of Hog and Piggies. Less Royal Giant than I thought we'd see. A little bit more Drill, which is what Ruben played in game number 2. He went Evo Snowball, Evo Cannon, Little Prince, Drill, and then in game number 3, that when he finally was able to take down Adriel, it was a Evo Witch, Evo Valk, Piggies deck. So curious to see if he goes back to any of those in this game number 2. Now that he's down 1, Yoru on the other side kind of ran a very similar start to his day. Oh no, that's just a little bit farther down.
Miner versus Drill, and Yoru has a Cannoneer. Very interesting. Golden Knight does not come down to stop the Goblin from hitting. So we see a pretty solid damage advantage go to Ruben right away here, especially with the Cannoneer just simply starting with less HP than the Princess.
Yeah, it was Yoru that started off with a bridge spam deck with Evo Ram Rider and Barbs, and then went to RG, and then went to Mortar. So now kind of going with Mortar in the second game, but a change up from what we saw him run yesterday. He ran a very interesting Mortar deck with the Skeleton Dragons that actually worked out. Only time that we saw that.
And seems like we're just seeing another variation of this Drill Goblin Hut Guards Berserker deck that has for some reason just become like the new standard for Drill in this tournament. Very strange.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can break it down a little bit more analytically afterwards, and you can, you know, you can use the time now in the rest of this game to think about what it is about this deck that all works so well together. But as of right now, you know, this is going to be look here, it's not a horrible matchup for Mortar, but I was just going to say that is one of the most frustrating things that can happen as a Mortar player, is that Evo Bomber. And with Ruben with already an 1100 HP lead, this is going to be a mountain to climb for Yoru with Mortar, Miner, and some spam.
I think that's something, I don't know, this is an interesting situation. I was going to say maybe Yoru should be switching lanes, but I actually changed my mind. Since Ruben doesn't have a big spell, the last card is most likely arrows. I think that he should kind of stack up units to the right-hand side, use his lightnings to try and gain some advantage back, defend the Goblin Drills with the Gold Knight and the spam, and then counter push with the Mortar same lane. He just has to really be careful for that Evo Bomber once it becomes back in cycle here.
Yeah, Yeah, I like all that. I think that's a really good point. And as you can see already, Ruben trying to get back to that bomber that did do so much damage, cycled back on the right-hand side, so he's still got one more cycle to go through. There's the Evo Snowball coming in. Pretty well timed there from Ruben. Does get just a hair of damage out of it, 595. There's the other bomber coming down. Maybe a high lightning here to take care of the doctor and the bomber. And he does,
Nice.
which is pretty good. Gets a little bit of damage from the monster making its way through.
Surprised to not see GoldenEye dash, and the Berserker does come down to make sure the Mortar Evo does not lock in the tower. And now we see another drill coming out from Ruben. I really like the idea to play the log first, making so that first goblin doesn't get damaged and dodging the pre-snowball. And a nice Golden Knight here as well. It's going to clean up everything, not quite getting to the tower.
Gonna say that's a juicy Golden Knight ability. Does take care of that Evo bomber. 489 remaining. Snowball comes in. Goblin will get on tower if we don't get a double drop. There's the Goblin gang. 435 as Yoro still tries to chip away with his miner. 435 against 1305. 90 seconds remain here in overtime. Ruben with a firm lead, looking like we will go to game number 3, but anything can happen.
Yeah, I'm still fairly confident that Yoru could make this defense work and make this comeback. With no big spell and an Evo Mortar, and with this lighting, it's very possible. Golden Knight on the counter push, bats up high, Gobstein ability is impossible. Spear Gobs, and I'm assuming we're going to see another Mortar. No Golden Knight dash, though, and the drill is inbound immediately. And the log's out of cycle.
Big miss on that Golden Knight. Yeah, I was going to say, I think he just got a little aggressive with that log. He misses the Golden Knight ability, then sends the log, and that makes it so he can only defend with the goblins or goblin gang or something that's going to get snowballed off the board. Not even the goblins because they were played up high. Just a little aggressive with that last bit of logging that came in. I get it though, because as a mortar player, you're like, this needs to get on tower. It needs to get on tower now. Pretty good game pretty good game number 2. Wow, I'm having a stroke. Okay, now that we've had time to think about it, we've seen it play against a few decks today. What is the deal with this deck, Juice? Talk to me a little bit about this and be honest with me. Are you going to run it later on today?
I might give it a go. It definitely looks a lot of fun. I really like the synergy between the Evo Snowball and the drill. We've seen it so much today, allowing for goblins to reach the tower. I also didn't really think about it before, but there's definitely solid synergy between the Evo Bomber and the Snowball. If you don't have arrows in the deck to clean the Evo Bomber and they're playing units to try to defend against it, you can use the Evo Snowball, push everything back, and allow the Evo Bomber to get even more value, even more damage. And then finally, the Berserker's interesting, but I kind of like it because it kind of cheapens the deck a little bit. You do have the guards, not really a cycle card. You do have the arrows, a little bit expensive. Goblet's not cheap. Drill's not exactly cheap. But this Berserker does a great job of just allowing for a cheap defensive unit that doesn't die to log, doesn't die to arrows. It doesn't even die to fireball. So I can see the deck. I think I just need to get used to Goblin Hut actually being meta in CRL.
I know. Whenever you see it, you just feel like it was a misclick. You're like, you still have more buildings available. Why is this on the board? And yeah, I think that's a really great point that you make about the Berserker, because in that deck with the guards as well, you want to use those guards as your ground tank. And the Berserker, as we've seen today and yesterday, just a really, really great defensive card that you don't really care if it does anything else. But if somehow it does get across the board, you do see it start to kind of wreak a little bit of havoc. It one hits a lot of cheap units that would usually be used to distract it. It obviously moves fast, and then if it does get on tower, the super high DPS. We don't see that quite as often, but really one of the best defensive cards in the game. And I'm really curious if moving forward now in the competitive scene, we're going to see more of the Berserker, right? We didn't see it at all yesterday until one game. Now we've already seen it like 4 times.
Yeah, Berserker, it's interesting. I definitely do think it does have to be paired with the guards, though. I don't see it being paired with skeletons or goblins just because it wouldn't be, spell resistant enough. Another thing is, I don't know, you do have to compare it to stuff like Knight and Valkyrie. A lot of the time, the Knight and the Valkyrie can provide more value, but it seems to work fairly well in this Goblin Drill deck specifically.
Goblinstein also making a slight comeback. We've seen it in this drill deck. We'll see if we see it anywhere else. There was a mortar deck that was running it for a few days that was popular. Obviously, I knew about that. Why do you think Goblinstein is making a slight comeback?
I think that Gobstein's making a bit of a comeback here, specifically in duels, probably because there is a limited supply of good big spells you want to use. I think that Gobstein does a great job of supplementing a big spell, especially if you are using something like Earthquake, just to get a lot of DPS down on a lane and kind of clean stuff up that you maybe don't have a Fireball or Poison for.
All right, so here we go. Game number 3, Inferno Dragon coming out here for Yoru. We saw the ID come out maybe just 1 or 2 other times yesterday, a card that is not super popular in the meta.
Interesting. So we have a Ruben with the Mortar deck that we saw Yoru use very recently, and Yoru probably with a Mega Knight, Firecracker, and potentially a Hog Rider in this deck, since we're seeing the Firecracker. Yep.
And you called it, Juice. Perfectly placed Mega Knight there. Going to clean up the push, distract the Mortar. Snowball comes in just in time, and now Ruben with the over-aggression is really paying for it. You imagine Yoru is going to let these Goblins do their work on Ruben's side of the map, and now Ruben gets a Mortar connection. Should get 4 shots, I think.
4 shots.
Guard.
But the guard is going to prevent that. Interesting. I like the decision making from Yoru there to, he realized he got his damage. He realized he was down a little bit of elixir. He defends against the Gob Gang, which is the larger threat. He lets the Mortar get a couple shots, and now he takes his elixir advantage to go for the Hog Earthquake but the Mortar does get 1 hit here as well. Pretty tough matchup, it seems, for Ruben here, especially with that Earthquake.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of responses, and it does feel like one of those matches where, Ruben is going to get damage, but at what cost,
Right.
And I guess we'll just have to see as Yoru is going to be able to probably defend, take a little bit of damage using his tower HP, and then maybe just straight up overpower Ruben and his defense here. So we'll see as this game goes on, but these beefy units causing problems already. Evo Mortar not going to get a hit. Oh, it does. Wow, it retargeted for 1 second. Unit fell off the board.
Wow.
Got that 1 shot in, and that's huge for Ruben. Now a decent counter push.
Evo Snowball going to make quick work of that, but I think that's a win for Ruben there to force out the Evo Snowball on defense. I don't see how he defends if we see a Mega Knight, Boss Bandit, Hog, Earthquake, Evo Snowball type of push. So I do like that play with the Evo Bats just to bait that out, and all of a sudden this game's closer than I thought it would be. Wow.
Earthquake coming in to clean up that gang. Really nice value Earthquake there.
And a pre-miner to pull everything back across the river, allowing the Hog to get targeted, as well as taking out the Firecracker at the same time. Great play from Ruben, but he's still down damage, and this Boss Bandit is still alive and kicking.
90 seconds remain. Boss Bandit is alive. Earthquake comes through on the tower. Second Ice Wiz has to come down to soak that Boss Bandit. Now protected by the gang just in case. That Boss Bandit would have taken out the Ice Wizard.
Miner trying to distract the Mega Knight to get the Spear Gods locking in the tower, but the Mega Knight's just going to make quick work of that, and now we see a very, very strong counter push with the Evo Mega Knight, Firecracker, Hog Rider, but we have the Evo Bats down, and once again, the Barbarian Barrel, no, but the Hog gets the hit.
Yeah, Ruben had the right idea there. Pull everything back, let the Hog go through first, but just a little bit more elixir spent than he would have liked, or a little bit less elixir in the tank than he needed.
Wait a second.
Still has a decent counter push coming in. There's the Snowball. Hog trying to come in. Juicy, that's going to do it. That's too much.
Oh my gosh! The Earthquake dropped down, but the Lightning does as well, and Ruben takes it before the final tick of the Earthquake can come through. Ruben with the celebration, making it happen, taking down the rookie of the CRL warm-up.
I mean, that's exactly what you and I have talked about. You, Rich and I, Josh, all of us, we've talked about it. You can see the end right there. You can feel the victory. I just need to get that Hog hit in. I just need to get that Earthquake down. No, my friend. You just need to defend. You have such a good advantage. You have so much more elixir than your opponent. The only thing that can happen is you're going to take some damage and then win the game with a massive counter push. I think that's the worst case scenario with that matchup, with that gameplay. And that is why Ruben is a world champion. You can say whatever you want about him, but he stuck through, played that so well. GG and well played to Yoru, who has now just been moved down to the lower bracket, not eliminated yet.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I think that in that situation, you got to just go for the Evo Snowball on the defense. It's going to clean up the bats. It's going to clean up the gang. It's going to give you ample time to defend. Your tower's very high in HP. You just got a little bit too excited, a little bit too impatient. But I mean, that happens. That happens. I mean, this is his first like big tournament that I've personally casted him in, and I mean, it's not over though. He's going to go to the lower bracket,
Right.
and he's going to have more chances to continue to show what he's got. But really well played from Ruben there, not giving up to the very final end despite the difficult matchup, and he makes it happen.
Yeah, and I'm so curious to see if Yoru ends up going up against Pedro or Riley, because it'd be great to get a Yoru-Riley rematch just in the same weekend. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times it's happened to me where I'm so sure I've won a game, and I oversell and I overspend, and then I look back at my tower and it's at like 2,000 HP when I make that horrible decision, and then I lose the game, and I'm like, what am I doing? There was 30 seconds left to defend. I know I wanted to end the game, but the game was already won. And just a tough spot. And there it is, Juice. We do get it. We get the Yoru-Riley rematch. As you guys can see, day one, match one, game one, Riley versus Yoru. Somehow Yoru pulls off the massive back-to-back upsets over Riley and Basoto. And now we'll see if a reinvigorated Riley can do exactly what you talked about at the top of the show, Juice. Can he make that lower bracket run? We'd love to see it. Maybe Riley will be the new lower bracket run guy, because Mohamed Light seems to not be losing anything. Just like we said at World Finals, he only lost one game. Yesterday, he was untouchable. And now we're going to see if Tourist can maybe knock the GOAT down a peg and bring him down to the lower bracket, where if whoever that would to be to lose would be facing off against Pedro. And as much as we'd love to see a Pedro Mo rematch, we'll have to see if Tourist can pull that off. Wow, what a great best of three that we just saw. And it really did feel like Yoru had kind of had it in the bag there for a little bit, and then Ruben just turned that set around.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it was just Earthquake for the mortar, Snowball for the bats. He had the Barbarian Barrel version, which is decent versus the Firecracker, but you much rather have the arrows. I think the Boss Bane was difficult to deal with since Golden Knight, not really a tanky tank. It doesn't have that much HP. And that Mega Knight was kind of just blocking the lane as well. But once again, I just maybe a little bit of competitive inexperience from Yoru. He went for the Snowball in the tower to Earthquake, and maybe he just wasn't expecting that lightning to come down in the final second for that quick 300 plus damage to just snap the victory from the jaws of defeat for Ruben there. Wow.
And that's something that you always have to think. I mean, this is such an obvious statement, but we just saw it come through. I mean, you have to know what the big spell of your opponent is, right? You have to always be thinking about that. And especially in the current meta that we're in, you have to really think about it early on, right? You see the Mortar of the Bats, the Golden Knight, like it's gotta be lightning. And then if you don't see the arrows at any point, you just know it has to be lightning. There has to be a spell in there. You see, you know, the barb barrel, the bats, all that. I don't know. It's just one of those things you need to make a recognition of, something you always need to keep that much of a lead. So again, it's like you look at the lead that he had, there's, you know, 300 plus HP less than that there. Maybe if he factors that in, maybe if there's not as much pressure, he just pauses. But well played by Yoru. We'll see more of him in just a little bit. Now on to Tourist and Mohamed Light. I mean, and this is also a really exciting one. Tourist was someone who, you know, we've heard of the name in the community for the last couple of years, never at the highest level, known as being one of the best bridge spam players in the game. But honestly, he was all over the board yesterday, just playing a little bit of everything. Seemed like Tourist could do no wrong. And I'm very curious to see how he stacks up against the goated one.
The goated one is quite the name. I like that. I might have to use that. But yeah, Mohamed Light with the Tombstone and the Bar Barrel and a Knight. Looks like we're gonna see some more Splash Yard. We'll see if he's gonna be using the non-tornado or the Baby Dragon, or the Baby Dragon or the Tornado version here.
And we did see a little bit of feistiness, a little bit of spice out of Mohamed Light yesterday, BMing Pedro, hopping around, walking away before games were even over. big comeback swings. So, I love this version of Mohamed Light that we're seeing. And I also love that Tourist is the only person that's run Lava Hound the last 2 days. And the first time that he ran it, he went up against someone that had 0 air defense, and it was one of the easiest wins that he could take. I think it was against Sam. Can't remember exactly, but it was RG versus Lava, and that RG deck had. I think it was Clown. That RG deck had Zap and Curse in it, and so we were kind of excited to see that, but it did not work out well.
Yeah, I don't know if it matters at all, but I did see a little bit of drama on Twitter where Jeebus, Clown's coach and analyst, was talking about how there was a little bit of a bug actually, where sometimes the deck copied does not show with the deck that is on the screen. So he didn't actually mean to go in with that Royal Giant deck with no air defense. So it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation. We'll see if Tourist is going to be able to be successful as well with the Lava Hound here. But I think going against Mo with a Poison for the Flying Machine, for the Skeleton Dragons, with the Witch and the Ice Wiz for the air defense is going to be a much different story.
It's really interesting. I didn't know about that. And hopefully that's something that our players and their coaches can lock down. We have had instances in the past where the copy deck wasn't working the way maybe it was supposed to. And that was something players had to adjust to. And a bit unfortunate to hear that, but here we are in this matchup. And just like you're saying, a lot more air defense at the helm of Mohamed Light in this specific matchup. I mean, specifically the 2 cards we're seeing right now in the Witch and the Ice Wiz. I mean, Ice Wiz are just so great at stopping any beatdown deck, especially up in the skies for that splash once the pups pop. And just cycling Ice Wizards in the back is Mohamed Light as Tourist tries to go aggressive at the bridge, opposite lane with a Lava Hound plus Flying Machine push. Mo's got the defense locked down pretty well so far. Has to pull the trigger on the Poison again.
Poison drops down. Witch is in Cycle, and Tourist does have the Lightning, so he's going to drop the Lightning down the Witch immediately, trying to break through for any sort of damage. But the Ice Wiz Tornado is in Cycle once again. Ice Wiz doesn't do the damage it used to, but the Tornado doesn't do the damage that it used to, but the Ice Wiz Splash is sufficient to really make sure this defense is successful.
1842, 2575. Tourist has changed minds on which lane to go in. Did not like the counter push potential that he was giving Mo Light on the right-hand side. And Mo Light continuing to just defend with a card or 2 and then a Poison if necessary. Now we see Poison coming out in the opposite lane to deal with the Skelly Drags.
Yeah, that's going to force out the arrows as well with the Evil Knight just tanking everything. Tornado once again in the left-hand lane to mitigate damage. Now we're heading into triple elixir overtime, which I think only can benefit Mo in this matchup.
Yeah, honestly, I completely agree, and I'm really impressed with, I mean, it's hard because it's Mohamed Light, where it's pretty hard to be impressed by anything and everything that he does is impressive, but his ability to completely control a Lava Hound plus Flying Machine with just a Witch and then a Knight, or just a Witch and a Tombstone, not hitting panic, not worrying about the damage that he's taking, not overspending. It's really good because you can see Tourist is having a really hard time figuring out how to put together a real offense that's going to keep up in this final 20 seconds.
Lightning going to drop down the Ice Wiz with the anti-Lightning Witch placement. Graveyard from Mo, plus a Poison and a Barbaro to apply pressure with only 12 seconds left on the clock. This game's getting a little bit more close than I thought it was. The Tornado doesn't do that much damage. The arrows come through, and there's a Lightning in Cycle. Tourist making an upset here in game number 1.
Wow. I don't even know. It felt like Mo had that so under control the entire game. And Tourist was getting damaged the whole time, and it's not like Mo had a huge lead or anything, but it just felt like the thing that I was applauding, his calm in defending the left-hand side, maybe just a little too calm, maybe a little too lackadaisical, because he's trying to create that offense on the right-hand side. I don't know if maybe he needed to switch lanes again and go back to the left. Juicy, what are your thoughts here on this matchup? What went wrong for Mo as the chat loses their mind?
The only thing I can really think of is at the very end there, the Flying Machine from Tourist ended up taking out an Evo Witch, and then he placed another Witch, and it died almost immediately to the Flying Machine. at that point, the Lightning drops. There's no air defense left on the board, and the Lava Hound's just continually chipping down the damage here. And unfortunately for Mo, he's not able to get his cycle together correctly. No tank dropping for the Graveyard. Not sure where the Knight was in cycle, but Tourist just applying so much pressure, forcing Mo to defend, and always getting the Lightnings on the tower.
Man, I curious if any more people are going to start running Lava Hound. Tourist has been doing a very, very good job with it. Now 2-0 with it. Tourist started his day against Sosa, goes 2-0 against Sosa, then runs into Clown, goes 2-1 against Clown, then ends up here today going 1-0 against Mohamed Light. So, Sosa and Clown, it sounds like there was maybe a little issue. We also know he was playing in the car yesterday. Sosa took a little while to warm up. So it was maybe easy if you were looking at Tourist's run through the bracket to maybe pick it apart. Now you see him going up against Mohamed Light, taking game number one in a it wasn't like an extremely dominant matchup by any means. So I gotta say, color me impressed, man.
Yeah, I'm impressed as well. I think the game-winning play, by the way, for all y'all back at home, if you're wondering, was the lava at the bridge after the Ice Wizard around the 1 minute mark in the game. I think that you have to switch lanes in this matchup. If he continued to go into the Ice Wiz, the Witch, and play same lanes the Splash are there, it would not have worked out. But he played the lava in the other lane. He applied pressure. He got the chip damage. He got the Lightnings on the tower, and he forced Mo to play Witches in places where he didn't exactly want to. And then once again, just being able to play off the lane versus Splashard makes it so they're not able to defend and counter push. And it makes playing the Graveyard a very awkward play for sure.
Should Mo have switched later in the game, or was that not really a possibility just because that same thing could then have happened again back on his weaker tower? Like if Mo switches lanes to the left side and then Tourist goes, okay, well, now he's defending heavily on the left side, does Tourist just go Lava plus Flying Machine on the right side, and then Mo finds himself defending his lower lane again and having to switch again? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I honestly don't blame Mo for not switching lanes. He already got so much damage to the right-hand side. And also, it's fairly difficult to get damage in that matchup versus the Valkyrie, the Guards, the Skelly Drags, the Arrows. So I think Mo made the right play to play in the opposite lane or continue to do that. It just didn't end up working out for him in the end.
So, not something that you and I say very often, and something that we've never said before. Mohamed Light down a game against Tourist here at the CRL warm-up.
Yeah, it looks like Mo liked the deck that he saw. He might be copying here, or at least copying a variation of the lava here. And Tourist with a very strange deck. I honestly have no idea what kind of deck we're going to be seeing here.
Yeah, I totally. I mean, you see part of it, you think one thing, you see the other part of it, and you think Mortar Bait, and Juicy, I think you're right. Mohamed Light going, I hated that deck, let me play with it.
Yeah. Goes to the bridge to cycle to the bats, able to defend against the Inferno Drag. Evo Cage and cycle, gonna yoink that ghost in and allow the tower to clean up these bats. It's gonna stay on the board for a little bit longer as Mo can try to recoup some elixir here.
I know a lot of people out there, a lot of the Clash Royale purists don't love evolutions, and I'll find myself complaining about them when I lose to them as well. But I do have to admit, some of the great mechanics that have been added with them is really interesting in the game. I do think Goblin Cage Evo is one of the more fascinating and unique evolutions in the game. It's never really felt super overpowered. It's always felt kind of matchup dependent. But also it's a great get out of jail. I mean, honestly, Mo is running two of the best get out of jail free cards in terms of Evos, in the sense of obviously what the Goblin Brawler can do and the Valkyrie can do defensively. I mean, they're both so powerful, especially against cards like a Mega Knight. So see how that kind of fares as this game goes on. And almost had a moment there where I thought that we saw Tourist repeat a card, but Inferno was played in a different set, and Mo didn't straight copy the deck that he just lost to. Looks like he opted for Inferno and Skellies instead of Flying Machine.
Miner Goblin, a right-hand lane, trying to apply some pressure. Evo Valk is in cycle, going to really clean up this defense, and that's what Andrew means by getting out of jail free card. That's what Lava Hound really excels with Evos like this, because a lot of time, Lava Hound It's all about spamming as many air cards you can, applying pressure, getting spell damage, and then you just have 2 or 3 really strong defensive ground cards to help you out on that end of the spectrum.
1918 to 26-26, and now some more damage comes in on that left-hand side. Tourist in the lead in both lanes. Mohammed Light with a bit of a grimace on his face that is a face that we know well, but not one that we see super often.
Skelly Drags drop down with the Evo Cage. If the Evo Cage can take out this Mega Knight, he will have a successful defense, but it doesn't. Zap drop it down, taking it out, and he's forced to defend with the guards, and the Mega Knight's getting so much damage. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, Inferno Dragon Bats clean up the entire lava push, putting Mo in another very difficult situation.
13:43, 22:79 as Tourist is, with 80 seconds left, about to pull off maybe the biggest upset of the tourney so far, but now we see Mo pedal to the metal, lot on the board. This will be very interesting to see how Tourist defends. There's the Evo Zap to come in and help with the Skeleton Dragons, but now the Skeleton Dragon's still alive. Arrows comes in to clean everything up. Golden Knight to tank on the ground. Gang comes down just in time, and I think somehow he defended.
Wow, and there's 60 seconds left on the clock. Tourist is up over 700 damage, and he's going to apply some pressure. It's his time to attack. Mega Knight the bridge. Cage to drop down, try and get the Evo in cycle. He will defend. The Evo Valk will clean up the rest of this push and allow Mo to get another Lava Hound at the bridge. There it is.
Lava at the bridge, 40 seconds remain. Bats immediately on top. Inferno distracted. Lightning comes down to hit everything on the board. Goblin Gang now in to help clean up that lava up front. Mega Knight at the bridge to kite everything away. Second Inferno comes down. Bats surround. Tourist is doing a great job here. 30 seconds remain. Now going to go Miner to the back. Now the counter push comes in. 13:27 to just over 1100. Mohammed Light fighting for his life with 18 seconds remaining.
The problem is that Tourist is continually applying pressure, making so another Lava Hound cannot drop down. There's only 10 seconds left. Arrows have to drop on defense. Miner provides chip. The Cage drops down, and Mo needs to save up for a Lightning, but it's not even enough. The Miner did enough chip damage, and Tourist with a 2-0 sweep against the world champion.
And you see Tourist with a little bit of the shush there. What a run for this young man. Tourist.
Oh my gosh.
2 O's. The GOAT, Mohammed Light, pulling off the biggest upset of the weekend by far. The only thing that could be more shocking than this is if it happens again in the grand finals. But as of right now, our world finalists down in the lower bracket to face off against each other. Mo versus Pedro. Going to be really exciting. Yoru versus Riley. And then at the top, we've got Tourist staying alive against our former world champion in Ruben Juicy. Talk to me about the 32 cards that we see on the screen. Talk to me about these two matchups.
Game number 1, we saw Splash Shard versus a very popular Lava Lightning deck. A lot of the time with Lava, you see either a Miner or you see a Balloon as a secondary win condition. But in this situation, this is kind of a new Lava deck that's just based on Lava Chip and Lightning's down on damage, on tower, and also to clear out those air defenses. Tourist with the lane switch made this happen just by a few HP. Game number 2, Mohammed Light, seemingly interested in Tourist deck, goes for a variation, except with the Inferno Drag, rather the Flying Machine, maybe trying to predict some sort of beatdown deck from Tourist here, but it ends up kind of backfiring because Tourist has the Evo Zap for the Inferno Dragon. He has a lot of air defense. He's the Inferno Dragon for Lava, Bats, and Spear Gobs, and Mo only having the arrows to clean up those bait units, so it's kind of a pick your poison situation on what you want to get on the board. Mohammed Light did his very best to try to defend and get the damage that he needed to win, but Tourist ending up winning the game by just applying immense amount of pressure throughout the entire match.
Yeah, I mean, I think you really called it right there. How great would that flying machines have been for Mohammed Light? You know, they would have been all over the board. Tourists would have been struggling to control them, but not the case. A bit of a change up there for Mo and his team. Like you said, probably looking for something just a little bit heavier out there, maybe something like RG. Ruben, Tourist. up in our upper bracket finals to play in a best of 5, our first best of 5 of the day. Very excited for that. That's coming your way in just a couple matches. But next up, we got the rematch between Yoru and Riley, and then the rematch between, well, actually, no, not the rematch, but a match between Mohamed Light and Pedro, because remember, it was Pedro who ran up against Mugi in those World Finals that he got second place, not Mohamed Light, even though we're so used to saying that. So here we go. Yoru versus Riley. And just to remind you guys how the day started yesterday, Yoru came out playing against Riley, game number 1, match number 1. Yoru loses that first game to Riley running Golden Knight, Mortar, Lightning, something that we've seen a lot this weekend, a little bit less today. But Yoru ran a deck that we haven't seen at all. Getting back to that in just 1 second. This is what we're playing for, right? 5th through 8th, $500 juice, $1,000 to 4th place. 3rd place takes $1,500. 2nd place takes $3,000. And 1st place takes $7,500. So we always talk about the pressure that starts mounting as more money is on the line.
Yeah,
back to you winning $50,000 on a stage, Juicy. I know you already felt pressure throughout. I know you're a competitor. I know you hate losing more than you love winning. But was the pressure through the roof when you knew that it was the $50,000 game, or did you feel like just as much pressure in the match before that because you were always thinking about winning and you were always thinking about that $50,000 prize?
I'm not gonna lie. For me, it was a lot of the very last match because there was a big difference between like $20,000 and $50,000. So, and for a 17-year-old, I was absolutely freaking out. And not to mention, for the tournament that we're currently casting, there's a lot of time that these players have put in to this tournament. There's a group 1 or the stage 1, stage 2, and now the finals. So I'm sure a lot of the players are wanting to take as much cash as they can home here. And they deserve it. They've put in a lot of work. They've put in a lot of practice. And I'm very impressed with the gameplay that we've seen today.
Yeah, and you also know, like, with the world that we're working in Clash Royale now, those analysts and those coaches, you want the best ones, and the best ones want to work with the best players. So that also helps your run down the line. So now we see that deck once again here from Yoru. Lightning comes in from Riley, which is going to be really nice for him. Ends up cleaning up that Goblin Hut, gets some good damage in, but now a decent counter push to deal with. Bar Barrel comes out, 5 Elixir in the back. Guard's going to be there, so Riley running into a pretty nice matchup as of right now.
Yeah, it seems like he might have gotten the matchup he was hoping for. Maybe a little bit of some good work from his analyst here. But yeah, we have the Ghost for the Goblin Drill. There's the Barbarian Barrel for the Goblin Drill. And of course, the Guards for the Goblin Drill as well. The other thing is, York doesn't have a big spell in this deck. There's just no Lightning for this Executioner. This Executioner is really going to block this lane and provide a lot of value. Speaking of value, this Boss Bane getting in some work here as well. He does go down, but it forces down so much Elixir. Here comes the Ram Rider. Maybe the Evo Bomber can clutch up, but the Snowball from Riley, a quick reaction time, going to take off the board immediately before it was able to take out the Exi. And wow, Yoru down to 538 HP already. That's just 2 Lightnings away from Riley winning this game with only 50 seconds left on the clock. At this point, I don't know how he's going to win, but if he is, this is how you have to do it. You have to switch lanes. You have to just hope that the Evo Snowball can carry you to victory. But that's why the Bar Barrel's in the deck once again. I've talked about it so many times today, guys. But the Barbarian Barrel, the Log versus Goblin Drill plus Evo Snowball is just so important because once the Evo Snowball comes through to knock units backwards, you need the Barbarian Barrel to clean the rest up. And wow, Yoru just seemingly extremely tilted here. He's not giving up to the very final second, but both of his towers now under 100 HP. Riley taking both of them down, and he's feeling happy about this game. Game number 2 going to be coming up right as soon as we can here.
Yeah, I mean, that was a victory from Riley that felt pretty dominant from the opening
Yeah,
send. And do
really.
you think that's just like purely matchup based? Do you think that's just because he had the lightning to deal with the hut, he had the lightning to deal with the Gob Doctor if he needed to? Obviously, the Ram Rider coupled with the lightning is pretty much impossible to stop for Yoru. What all went wrong there for a deck that has been, pretty great today?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've kind of just found, or maybe Riley has found the kryptonite to this popular kind of trendy Gob Hut deck here. I mean, we saw the Bar Barrel to counter the Evo Snowball when the Snowball comes down with the drill. We saw the Ghost in guards for defense. The Lightning is so difficult to defend the Rain Rider Lightning, especially when you're using a Goblin Hunt where, and it does have a decent amount of HP, but it doesn't have that DPS that it can get down onto the Rain Rider before the lightning drops. And then once again, the Executioner was really the X factor there, just completely blocking the lane and just a solid counter to the Gobstein as well.
Yeah, it really felt like Riley had every answer that he needed, even from the opening send, right? You talk about the barrel coming out, then the guards came down immediately on top of that drill, the lightning that came out on top of that hut with the Ram Rider connection, and it was just like, oh, okay. So Riley Riley got himself exactly the matchup that he was looking for. And for Yoru, this is kind of like what we talk about that mental fortitude of being a great player is now you're down, you're in the lower bracket, your back's up against the wall, you're going up against Riley. Can you put it together? And this is usually where the rookies kind of start to run into a little bit of trouble is on day 2 if they even make it there.
In down, Earthquake gonna counter, but the Valkyrie here, Yoru, finding himself a much better matchup than the previous game. We have yet to see what win condition he's going to use here, but it could be a miner, could be a hog, and there's the miner. I'm sure we will see a poison to pair with that as well.
Yeah, looking like just a good old-fashioned miner poison control here, and fortunate there for Riley, for Yoru. Riley dropping those skellies right on top of the miner as he populates, getting tanked for by the Valk, so the miner takes out the skellies, gets a few extra hits on that tower, just a small lead, 2807 lowest tower for Riley here, and 28 and some change, 2849 for Yoru.
Queen does not take the Little Prince. Really nice ability there, stalling the Little Prince from walking forward, so the Queen was out of range, and also protecting Little Prince at the same time. This is forces down a Valkyrie and a Log onto the Queen here as well.
So that was actually a really nice defense, but it ends up putting them both just directly even, so it just ends up being a bit of a wash.
Right. And the miner comes in from Yoru once again, trying to extend the damage lead. Roll hogs from Riley.
And Rocket comes out, so miner Rocket control. I'm going to do you guys in chat a favor right now. If you type badge and then your player ID, nothing is going to happen. So just a heads up.
Ice Spirit here, trying to get more value than the YouTube chat right now, but the Gob Cage is going to drop down. And looking at the matchup here, I'm actually really happy with Yoru's matchup, but we've seen the Rocket really kind of fail so far in the CRL warm-up. We'll see if Yoru can give it some justice here, have some good defense, and really get those rocket cycles down whenever the Evo Cannon or when the Evo Valkyrie cycle. That's usually when you want to drop them down.
Juice, that was one of your greatest of all time. You've been doing this long enough now, son. You've got it. You've got the bits. You've got the banter. Chat lost it on that one. I lost it on that one. Absolutely brilliant. I'm proud of you. So
wow, that actually means a lot, for real though. It means a lot. Shout out to Andrew. I learned everything I got from Andrew and Rich boys. Shout out to them.
Matchup definitely good. Just like you were talking about though, that Rocket very interesting yesterday, and this time Riley gets a perfect catch on the miner with the Skellies plus the Ice Spirit. Queen getting a decent bit of value, and it will get tanked for by that one hog that sneaks in just in time, but as of right now, Riley just trying to figure out any way to get damage on the board.
So from Riley's perspective here, I'm just trying to think what he needs to do to win this. I think the biggest thing is you need to abuse your Archer Queen 3-card cycle in the opposite lane, which is what he's doing here. For two reasons. You have to try to get as many hogs and earthquakes on the tower as possible, but if you can ever force out a rock on the Archer Queen, it's kind of a win for him as well, since that is part of the main win condition from Yoru here.
Yeah, Riley doing a very good job of catching those miners. It's not something you can do 100% of the time. That Evo Cannon got to be super frustrating for him to deal with as well. Just makes cleaning up these pigs so cheap. Every three defenses that come down, which allows for a rocket to come through. I mean, that's why I've never been good at playing Rocket Cycle, is like my defenses, I usually spend just 1 or 2 elixir more than I need to. And then if I try to sneak in a rocket, then I'm just really hurting. And that's why it's such a high skill cap deck. Even though I know you hate it, you do have to play it pretty dang perfectly.
Yeah, I do hate it, but I definitely agree, especially on a stage like this. It's not easy to play. You have to have perfect defense, and one mistake can really cost you here. Roll Hogs do come through, maybe a slight mistake there, but he is up enough damage from some solid defenses so far. He should be chilling. I also do want to know Riley's composure here. He knows he's up 1 game. He's trying his best to win this one, but he knows if he does lose, that he is going to have a nice chance in game 3 as well.
1036, 1670, 20 seconds remaining. Little Prince on the board. Ability does not come out. Little Prince just connects straight up, and that should do it here in game number 2. And a really nice matchup there for Yoru, and exactly what you're talking about. We've said this many, many times over the years, and there's only been a few players really that this has not been true, and that's that poison control or very, very cheap control decks are really tough at the highest level. We saw it happen yesterday. You make one mistake and you're basically out of the game. If that mistake costs you several hundred HP, you're out of the game. And especially when it's one like Minor Rocket, because what your opponent's going to do late game, if they have a decent lead, is they're going to just assault, nonstop, relentless assault to make sure you don't get enough elixir to get that rocket out, and then they might neglect a few miners. So that was not the case here. It was actually really, really well played by Yoru. He had a good matchup. He played it very well. As you said, there was some small moments where a couple hogs snuck through, but for the most part, he did a good job of spending enough to make sure, and then always having enough to get those rockets out. Great matchup, honestly, in game number 2, and now we get to game number 3. Curious to see, what he might want to run. So far, we've seen the 2 decks he's run. We haven't seen bait from him.
Have we not seen any Royal Giant today? I just realized. I don't think so. That's really insane. One of the most popular win conditions. Maybe we see a Royal Giant come out here, but that's strange. It was the most played win condition yesterday and just 0 today.
Yeah, I'm looking through here to all that we saw, and it felt like we might get it a couple times, but then other cards came out surrounding it. I think when we saw Adriel drop, the Monk plus the Royal Ghost, we were like, oh, maybe, but then he ended up coming out with that kind of like that Ram Rider Bridge spammy deck. So yeah, I totally agree. And what's really weird about it is that it's not like RG wasn't as successful yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw a lot of Mortar yesterday, and it was maybe above 50%. So it makes sense that we're seeing a lot less of it today. It also makes sense that we're seeing more decks kind of cover for Hog and for Piggies.
Right.
But I am actually really surprised we haven't seen any Royal Giant at all. And the version that Mo ran was also so successful. I don't know. I mean, this is what we've talked about with the evolution of the meta over a competitive weekend. But I can't really put my finger on why RG is just forgotten about so far.
Yeah, I do think that even Royal Giant could have done well versus the Rocket Cycle deck there. Just able to apply a lot of pressure. We'll see what Riley wants and his coach wants to do here in this last game. I do know that Riley can play some decent RG if he wants to. I also wouldn't be surprised to see some log bait from Riley with the log being out of cycle and a lot of those counters out here. But the other thing is, if you're Yoru, I think you always have to be ready for the fact that could happen. So he might, that's the whole thing that we always talk about with the one-trick players. Do you play the deck you're best at when the counters are out, or do you know that your opponent's going to be ready for it at all times?
Yeah, and it's really tough because, it's also like when and where, right? Because yesterday we saw Riley not play bait at all in his first set. He loses it, and then he goes out and starts his second set with bait. And yesterday we were thinking, is that just to like build the confidence? Is that because he wanted to really shock his opponent? And is that because, all of the speculation that we could have? Wow, here we go. Mother Witch runs right into some Spear Goblins and some Bats. Looks like Riley is going to go to... It looked like he was going to go Mortar. He still could. We did see a Mortar plus Valk deck yesterday, even though Golden Knight was more popular. Mother Witch, very interesting. We saw Mother Witch come out against a Mortar bait deck yesterday as well, but I can't remember exactly who it was, but they did a very, very good job of making sure to not give Witch value throughout that entire game, and they played the deck a little bit differently than you normally would. So, wow, we'll see how this shakes down. Juicy, what do you think we're seeing at the top of our screen here? What is this?
I believe it's some sort of a minor poison or maybe a minor fireball, just spam, kind of just spam pressure deck. The problem is that he's going up against a Mega Knight, a Mother Witch, an Electro Spirit, a Zap, and a Barbarian Barrel. So these Goblet, these Wall Breakers, these Bats, these Spear Gobs are going to be providing Riley a lot of trouble here. The Mother Witch is going to be getting a lot of value, spawning a lot of pigs here.
And this is really interesting, Juicy, because I think that we see Yoru doing exactly what you talked about. He's running a deck that counters bait, and also some of the bait decks we saw Riley run yesterday had no building in it. So now you're seeing a tower-seeking unit like the Ram Rider that also can clean up bait units. You're seeing a Mega Knight that can clean up everything at the bridge if it does come across. And then, like you said, the Zap, the E-Spirit, the Bar Barrel, the Mother Witch. Looks like Riley found himself in another tough spot here matchup-wise.
Yeah, Bats dropping down. Valkyrie Evo up high. Evo Zap immediately taking out the Evo Bats. Evo Val can cycle, and Riley's somehow staying in this game despite all of the different counters here. He's applying dual lane pressure now, but the double wall breaker connection. Riley winning this game by over 800 HP now.
And this did not feel like a very educated push. Maybe it ends up working out because of the Mother Witch needs to protect her. Does not. Ram Rider does get through. Piggy right behind, and never mind. That actually ended up working out. Yoru felt Riley spent just a little bit too much on that, the attack that came right before that, and ends up punishing him right back. I'd just eat those if I was him. Yep.
Eats the wall breakers to continue his Elixir lead, and he's gonna make another big push with his Boss Bandit. Evo Mega Knight, Boss Bandit. Riley has the Goblin Hut, but here comes the Mother Witch to the bridge. Poison has to drop onto her, but the Mother Witch does lock on the Valk, so she's not gonna spawn too many logs. And nice job from Riley, cycling all the way back to the Evo Valk immediately to really clutch up this defense.
And just Zaps on that left-hand side will eat one wall breaker because of the Goblin up in front. And
wow, Mother Witch gets taken out by the double Valk. And now the pressure on both lanes is mounting. Spear Gods get taken out the Bar Barrel and the E-Spirits and cycle. Yoru does maintain the damage lead.
And this is starting to get real dangerous for Yoru, just getting spread really, really thin over and over. Riley now doing exactly what he has to do in terms of sacrificing tower HP to make sure he gets the huge hit on the left-hand side, that Boss Bandit. The Mother Witch is behind, and now you see the fist up in the air. Riley has been eliminated by who? Yoru. Who? I don't know. Yoru.
Wow. The rookie of the year, Yoru. I mean, I'm sure he's played in competitions before, but this is the first time that I've seen him really succeed against quite literally the second best player in the world last year, the second best player at the World Finals, and he wins with a Boss Bandit connection. I guess Riley, you know, he thought he could use his tower HP as a resource to gain some Elixir advantage, but the Evo Zap paired with that, just, wow. I mean, I don't know. The Boss Bandit is just strong, has too much HP.
Yeah, one of those cards that you cannot ignore. And, man, two exceptional best of threes between these two gentlemen, Yoru and Riley. They started our day off yesterday. Yoru pulled off the upset, and then it was all question marks. Can Riley stay alive? Can he do the lower bracket run? And how long will Yoru actually stay in this competition? Well, he has proved all the naysayers wrong. He's shocked Riley twice, and it is a bummer to say goodbye to Riley, but we know we're going to see more of Riley this year. I would bet my life on it, to be honest. So that being said, it is very exciting to see a new name pop up on the scene and plays so well against great players and one of the best in the world in Riley.
Looking at the decks here, first matchup, Riley ends up having the first good matchup versus Yoru in this tournament, and then immediately in the second game getting completely hard countered by this really nicely crafted minor control. I believe there was a minor instead of mighty minor there for everyone wondering back at home. And in the third match, Riley, really tough matchup here. The arrows, no value. Poison, at least he can take out Mother Witch. The Spear Gobs, all the Goblin Hug Goblins, everything in the deck, really struggling versus the double small spell, plus E-Spirit, plus the Mother Witch. Even the Mega Knight is difficult. He did the best he could with the Evo Valkyrie, and then just at the end there, just a little bit underestimation of the Boss Bandit's potential there on the tower. Still, really good plays from Riley, making that matchup seem a lot more even than it is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was a very, very difficult matchup for Riley. He ends up evening things out pretty well throughout by just doing a great job. But you always have to apply that opposite lane pressure when you're playing with a Wallbreaker Miners spam deck. You just need to make sure that you can pull attention away from your opponent in one lane. So here we are. So far today, we've said goodbye to Adriel, Sosa, and now Riley are the three that have dropped. Mo Light and Pedro are up next. Yoru still alive, Ruben and Tourist still alive. So we found our 5th, 6th, and 7th players, still trying to figure out who our 8th is going to be for those $500 prizes. Then from top 4 on, you start to really get paid. And now we are going to head to Mo Light versus Pedro. And this is a very, very exciting one. We saw Pedro get 2nd in the world back in the 2023 World Finals. He went through the upper bracket. The way that his whole tournament went was he started off against Ruben, who is also in this competition, obviously. Pedro goes 2-1 against Ruben. Then he goes 2-1 against Samuel Basoto, who we said goodbye to yesterday. Then goes 2-0 over Pandora to go 2-0 over Mugi. So Pedro goes on a beautiful upper bracket run. He gets to the grand finals as a rookie, as a silent rookie. I mean, the first year we met Pedro, he's already a pretty quiet guy as we've gotten to know him better. But, he was definitely a little out of his comfort zone when we saw him at World Finals. And I think similarly to some of the players you see for the first time at World Finals, when you don't really know their personality, you're like, I don't know if this guy's going to be able to hang under the bright lights. Well, he did a lot of minor poison. He did a lot of minor mortar that year. He did a lot of, what I'm going to run, and I'm going to beat you with it no matter what you do, which was really, really impressive, especially in that Gob Giant meta that we were in. And then, unfortunately, Pedro fell to Mugi in the upper bracket grand finals reset. So that is how Pedro got to where he is. Him and Mohamed Light, unfortunately, in that year, did not run into each other. So this is a fun matchup for us.
But they did run to each other in round 1 of this tournament. I believe Mohamed Light 2-0 Pedro here. So Pedro's got a lot to prove. He's going in for the Goblin Drill right away to try to apply some pressure. Looks like we have a Goblin Drill mirror matchup here. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, Goblin Drill mirror matchup, but 2 different looks. Pedro going for the popular look on the day, and Mo going for the look that you and I yesterday, I mean, who knows what the other 2 cards are going to be, but just Demolisher in general feels like a card that is not quite going to work, or at least it didn't work yesterday. But if one person can make it work, it's Mohamed Light at the bottom of your screen, and you're absolutely right, Juicy. A very quick 2 up, 2 down for Mo versus Pedro yesterday in the first round of the bracket.
SO7 in the middle of the map. Mohamed Light trying to just get ready for some solid defense. He's going for the Goblin Drill to apply some pressure as well. Would not be surprised to see a snowball come in. No, he goes for the poison instead, predicting the guards, trying to get some goblins on the tower.
Yeah, I like that poison. He's down a few elixir. So we see Pedro go hyper aggressive here at the bridge. Demolisher plus Goblin should do a good job there. He has to Evo Snowball on defense. Wow. And Mo able to recover mostly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate this play. Obviously, I would like to see the Evo. Oh, and the pre-Mighty Miner predicting the Evo Bomber. Nice. And he's got a double Goblin Demolisher here. Maybe he can actually make a counter push off this.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that we don't see a lot is double Goblin Demolisher, and we do know they do a ton of damage. Now pulls back the
Wow.
Goblinstein with the drill, and while it might have just been really pretty and fun to watch, doesn't actually get a lot done, but that could have been crazy interactions there for a second.
And we see the Tesla on the right lane. I like this decision from Mo to just switch lanes here. It's going to allow him to defend, counter push. Whenever you're in a mirror matchup and your opponent doesn't have a big spell, I always recommend switching lanes, playing same lane here, because he can continue to apply pressure, get poisons on offense, prevent his opponent's counter push, while also defending and counter pushing in the same way.
Yeah, there's always caveats to rules in Clash Royale,
Sure.
but I couldn't agree with you more, Juicy. I think that that's just something for most players to put in their back pocket is you have a big spell, your opponent doesn't have a big spell. Like you said, there is a way for you to get spell value, and that's something you need to abuse. Bomber comes down, does get one shot on the tower there. Great cycle use there by Pedro to get back to it. Great use there of Mo to get the Ice Spirit out to activate King Tower to now help a little bit with the defenses, all while almost evening up the game in damage. 1898, Pedro's lowest tower, 1620 or 1602 now, Mo's lowest tower as that Evo Snowball comes in. Tesla there though to do some good cleanup. Still a little bit more damage than maybe Mo would have liked. 1455, no building in cycle. Pedro goes Goblinstein right at the bridge.
Yeah, and that's going to force Mo to use his win condition, the Goblin Drill, on defense. And here comes another Goblin Drill from Pedro to keep applying pressure. Mighty Miner does prevent the Goblins from locking on the tower. Goblins on the Goblinstein to try to continue to win this this interaction. And Goblin Drill in the back, he can't go for the, Goblin Demolish to the back. He can't go for the drill right away because he just got it back in cycle.
Tesla out here to catch. Tesla doing a decent job cleaning up those goblins. Evo Snowball comes in. No extra goblin damage done, though. We get a triple drop there from Pedro.
Wow, 2 Teslas on the board, but neither of them lock onto the Goblinstein. Snowball, but still the Goblins are connecting. Evo Bomber does miss, but there's only 30 seconds left. Mo needs a lot of damage in this last 30 seconds.
And another Snowball. Evo Snowball is in with the Evo Ice Spirit. So great defense there for Mo, but I don't think he's going to get enough damage. He's got so much down. Poison really the only thing ticking away. Second drill comes in because that Mighty Miner is on the board, but the Goblinstein is there. The ability is popping. Guards are there as well. Poison comes down. Ooh, and that was pretty dang close. Poison not going to have enough time. Mohammed Light loses this by 100 and some change.
Wow. Mohammed Light. I don't even know what to say. I mean, he played well at the end here with a lot, just abusing the 3-card cycle, a lot of drills, a lot of poisons in the tower. I don't know. I think the biggest play that I really pointed out to me was Evo Snowball on the defense on that right-hand side. Maybe he needed to do it, but I think that saving the Evo Snowball for offense is more important. And then the other thing was just those Teslas at the end. I really liked them, but the Goblinstein scientists end up locking on the tower. I mean, 100 HP isn't much. I think that if just a couple more plays were cleaned up there, he definitely could have and should have won this game.
Yeah, really, really close there. And I mean, obviously you're better at this than I am in the sense of breaking down exactly what went wrong. And I think you're totally right. When you talk about that Evo Snowball, it's such a fascinating interaction or coupling, the Evo Snowball plus the drill, because it's almost always guaranteed damage. And if it's not guaranteed damage, you have to see your opponent really, really over and aggressively spend to make sure that they don't get any damage on the tower. And like I was saying there at the end, Pedro had like a quadruple drop, and it just felt like that one instance of Mo using his Evo Snowball defensively instead of that one more time he could have used it offensively. That's the great equalizer, because it felt like every Evo Snowball that Pedro had in cycle was always played on that tower. And because of that, I'd say 90% of those that came out, he did get an extra goblin hit. There was only like once or twice where that goblin hit didn't come in. So really, really well played. Exactly what you want to see between the two best in the world, or two of the best in the world, excuse me. And also, we love it too, because, there was a little bit of fun BM and lore, if you will, Clash Royale lore going on between Mohammed Light and Pedro. Obviously, nothing but love between these two competitors, but it's fun to see them talk a little bit of trash to one another.
So we do see the first roll giant of the day from Pedro here. Wow, finally. We'll see if he's
Yep.
going to be able to make a win happen here, get the 2-0 sweep versus the world champ. Mo, on the other hand, with a pretty solid minor fireball, maybe minor rocky, does not have poison as an available option for spell.
Yeah, and it's still like it's not quite as surprising as it used to be because Royal Giant Evo's been in the game for so long, but it is still just like, man, look at the first 3 cards played. What an aggressive way to start the game for a Royal Giant player, when in the past you would have seen Skeletons come out, then the E-Spirit, then you maybe try the Monk. So just a different game that we're in nowadays, and Pedro did get a little bit of damage from it. 27-45, Mohamed Light's lowest tower against 29-22 with a minute 30 remaining in regulation.
I do like this matchup for Mo. I guess it does kind of depend on what his big spell is, but if you look at Mo's
lightning.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, what are the chances we see a lightning here? Lightning would be solid. It's very strong versus the Evil Hunter. But if you look at Mo's deck, like there's not much that can actually get deflected by the Monk. The Evil Bats do a great job in this matchup. The guards, the Boss Bandit are strong. And it looks like he does have the Fireball, able to hit the tower, and the Hunter there. Really well played.
So version of this deck was pretty popular. I believe it did have lightning in it, the one that was run regularly on the leaderboard, but it makes sense if Mo's thinking about getting to game number 3, which you know he is, because you know he wants to win this game number 2, might want to pull out lightning in game 3.
Yeah, on the other hand, Pedro probably has a lightning as well, so that's definitely something that Mo's going to have to watch out for when it comes to his building placements. Nope, it is a fireball. It's going to drop down to get this cannon and allow the RG to get one shot here. Really good value from Evil RG there.
Yeah, and you see Mo doing, I mean, we've watched so many of his matches now that his body language and his general expressions speak volumes at this point. I feel like we're like those lip readers you see on like TikToks and stuff. And you could tell that he's definitely feeling a little frustrated right now with the way that his defense is kind of unfolding. He's getting that Mohamed Light grimace that you see when things just aren't quite going his way. He's taking more damage than he wants, especially with a deck like this where your win condition is the Miner and kind of the Boss Bandit, but against someone like Pedro, that Boss Bandit feels like a lot less of a win condition than it would normally.
Here we see the cannon place one tile up in the opposite lane to prevent Fireball from hitting the tower and the cannon at the same time. It's a solid defense. Hunter won't get a shot, but Mo, this is not the situation Mo likes to be in. He doesn't like to be down damage in overtime. He likes to be up damage with really solid defense. And he's going to have to find some way to break through here.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point that you make about Mo. He usually does come out to the lead earlier in the matchup and then hold on and, you know, get in a spell at the end. Like you said, he usually just spends a lot of that time defending, but this is not the case you want to be in, and this is also not the situation Mohamed Light likes to play from. A little bit late on the log there. Knew the E-Spirit was going to come for the bats. E-Spirit gets there just in time, and now that Evo RG will get a shot, and it does. 1566, 2175. A lot of damage coming in here on the left that Mo has to sacrifice.
And the Hunter's going to get another hit too. Now the left side is the most HP done. He's going to go for the Boss Man ability right away, but the Fisherman's ready for the Miner. Fireball onto the Fisherman to try to break through, but it's just not enough. And here comes a roll giant from Pedro immediately.
And I was just going to say, correct me if I'm wrong, Juice, but I'm pretty sure this is also going to be a spot where Pedro wants to switch lanes, not only because it's the weaker tower, but it's the weaker tower in the same lane that that Mo's trying to work on. And so the spell value, the Hunter value, the counter push value is also much better.
Fireball inbound, 16 seconds left in the clock. Evil Hunter's in cycle blocking the lane. The Monk is getting more chip damage, as well as with 3-card cycles, Pedro's going to cycle back to his Fireball quicker. He also catches the Miner of the Skeletons. Fireball from Mo, Fireball from Pedro, and Pedro taking down the world champion, making it through to the lower bracket finals.
And you can see both of the expressions on their face of exactly how they feel right now. Pedro looking like he just won the CRL warm-up, which honestly beating Mo in this situation in the lower bracket has got